I improved my sleep with this one thing. And what had happened was I put them on, and then I was able to transcend into this amazing, dreamy world. It was so comfortable, and I just felt amazing. My name's Salvatore, a humble 9 to 5 office worker who has a super overactive brain, who's always like tossing and turning, finds it really hard to kind of fall asleep. He's always just, but basically what I had done is I'd kind of discovered something that had really, really helped to transcend me to another level of sleep, or kind of to get that good sleep. I see myself as a light sleeper, someone that's easily startled by noises and kind of like takes a while to fall asleep. So what I'm about to share with you, obviously I'll share the thing that helped me the most, but I also want to share with you what kind of got me to this point, because there's a number of things I've still implemented along the way that have helped a great deal. So by kind of sharing that, this might not be necessarily the one thing I share at the end will be exactly what's perfect for you. But what I'm about to share is a number of things that might resonate more or less with you, or that you can consider trying to help you get that better sleep, so you're ready to conquer the mountains and conquer life even better, faster and harder than before. So I guess the first point I'd like to share is lights and the concept of them. Lights, what do I mean by this? Now, it's quite general in terms of what I could say, but for me, it's extremely important to understand, obviously blue light, we've heard of it. So we know that like it's quite stimulating to our brain, and it kind of tells us that we need to be awake. But what you can do is on your phone, you can set a temperature, gauge filter that after say 6 p.m. or sunset, or before that, it transitions to warmer undertones, so that the whole screen is more yellow than like blue light, or like, orange-ish. So that means that you're more kind of not as overstimulated, and your kind of brain's already been signaled, if you have a time on screen, to chill out. But what I found was even more helpful was at nighttime, I've got these lights up here that basically I can control with Wi-Fi, and I set them all the way to the most warm setting, and I put the dimness all the way down to like 1%. And I basically have them at that time, like that point all the time. And what that does is that really helps me, again, while I'm kind of doing some work at night after, so I'll go to work, I'll come back, I'll eat dinner, and then I'll kind of do some stuff on the computer for you guys to kind of get ready to script next video or record. This kind of helps me to obviously do what I need to do, but by the end of it, like kind of feel relaxed enough to kind of transition into sleep. Because obviously this, like where I'm filming is where my room is. So I can't have it as a super stimulating environment, because I'll need to eventually go to bed, right? So that is probably the first thing, lights, having filters on your phone, and getting, I think it's like the Philips Smart Light. You can adjust from being really cool to being really warm, and you can set like automatic time reminders. So in the morning it can be like quite, cool, intense light in terms of 100% dimmability, and night, or at 6, you can say set it to 1% and like max warmth setting. So it's kind of like the first thing that I found really, really helpful. And the next thing, to kind of overcome the tossing and turning and kind of like having the benefit of kind of feeling really snugged and tucked in, is the idea of a weighted blanket. Now, weighted blankets, I guess when you go on the internet, they seem quite expensive in terms of if you kind of see an ad on Instagram. So I'll give you a tip. If you're in Australia, there's, the department store, or the store called Kmart. If you go in there, I got mine from them, and it was like I think it was 7.5 or a 10 kilo one for like $40. So compared to like the online ones, which are mostly like 100, maybe 150, that was considerably cheaper. So I'd recommend doing that, so you don't have to like splurge heaps if you kind of want to try it out. Now, what it does, the weighted blanket, is it kind of, it basically kind of tells you to relax. That pressure helps you to feel more comfort. And I guess there's an added benefit, because this pressure isn't particularly like insulating and warm, which is a good thing, because it means that you can actually leverage a weighted blanket in the warmer months. So if you're kind of having trouble falling asleep in the hotter months as well, you can still leverage this weighted blanket to kind of help you transition to sleep faster. And by, getting it on, say, doing a bit of research, you can kind of get a blanket online by not following the Instagram ads to kind of like, or on eBay or going on Amazon, you can simply get something that will work. The thing is, like, there's no concrete test or science to actually figure out the benefits of weighted blankets, because it's kind of pretty obvious if you're given the, like, when they do tests, they give you the controlled, which, like, there's two types of test people. There's ones that have the product that they're testing, and then the others have a placebo, a sugar pill. But see, if you've got a weighted blanket and you're testing, like, people that wouldn't have the weighted blanket, it's pretty obvious, would know that they're not having a weighted blanket. So it's kind of like, I don't know if there's like still studies on it, but do the thing for yourself and you actually probably notice that an improvement to your sleep quality. And the next thing I would say is, what was really important for me was light in terms of darkness. So for me, where I am, my blinds don't block out a lot of light. Well, they'll block out, say, 95% of the light, but there's still a bit that gets through, which is kind of why it's important to have an eye mask like this. Now, this is pretty bare basic, but see, the thing is, I've tried the more like memory foam, thicker ones, but because I'm a stomach sleeper, like the pressure that it kind of creates, like while my head's on the pillow, I don't find particularly comfortable. So I just rather use a thin fabric one like that, and it does the job miraculously. So it kind of means that like early into the morning, like the light doesn't come in as quickly because I've got this extra shield, and at night, if there's kind of ambient light outside, it doesn't really, or from passing cars, it doesn't really factor in as much of an issue to me, and it kind of helps me get into that zone of being like comfortable, cozy, and sleepy. So that's what I find really, really helpful, and kind of ever since I just use it pretty much every night. And then like a bonus tip I'll share with you, you can kind of implement like a what's called a sleep spray. So you spray this onto your like linen or pillow itself or bed sheets, and it's like generally with lavender or essential oils to help you kind of relax. And that will kind of put you in an environment kind of when, you know, coupling the, you know, the weighted blanket, the eye mask, the lights, to just really help you get into a really conducive environment for sleep. People that talk about sleep, or, you know, sleep experts, talk about the idea of sleep hygiene, and it's kind of more conducive to good sleep hygiene than bad sleep hygiene. So like bad sleep hygiene being, you know, you've got blue lights, you have caffeine before bed, you like, you know what I mean, like these types of things, you like have lots of light coming through, that's lots of like noises. These things will kind of be of a detriment to your sleep. And then the next thing I could share, which is really important to kind of combat this overactive brain of mine, is is one thing, but I'll kind of say there's multiple ways to go about it. So one aspect is journaling. By writing down all the thoughts in your head that you feel you have, getting them out to paper helps to kind of release them. It's like a mental garbage dump where you take all the stuff and you take it to the till or the tip, whatever they call it, and you just unload all of it. So then you feel more relaxed because you don't have to think about it and it's going like around in circles in your head. Because by putting it out to pen to paper, you can kind of see it and tangibly visualize it. So you know that your brain doesn't have to worry about reminding you about that because you've transcribed it onto something. And that's quite therapeutic if you're particularly stressed from the day, or there's something that you're not quite sure about. So you kind of journal it out and kind of think about it. It's a lot easier to visualize once you kind of got in front of you. And then another way to kind of go about this is leveraging like nostalgia. So for me, you know, I like the Final Fantasy series as a kid, Legend of Zelda. But if you didn't play a lot of video games as a kid, you can play some meditation music as well. It does a treat. So I play like video game music, like classical video game music from the Final Fantasy series, Legend of Zelda, you know, Super Mario. And I lie on my back on the carpet, flat ground, and and obviously put the eye mask on and just try to focus on my breathing. This is like a mindfulness meditation. That really helps me to relax as well and kind of feel that nostalgia wave pass over me. Now, if you kind of want a little bit more help on that to kind of fall asleep under more instructions, you can do what's known as you can meditate, like with a timer or a bell, set for 10, 20 minutes, focus on your breathing. If you find it kind of hard to switch off, you can put a guided meditation on, which is really, really, really helpful because basically a guided meditation is a body scan which takes you through like every muscle group, and by visually telling you, well, first to get you calm and then telling you instructions, you're more conducive to responding to those because you're in like a hypnotic state. So it kind of tells you that like focusing on your feet, you know, feel the tension in your toes and relax them. And they just naturally, because you can visualize it while your eyes are closed, you've relaxed your toes. And then as you go through your whole body, you've kind of unleashed a lot of tension that you didn't know was there. So that kind of means that you're more ready to relax, or the meditation will get you to squeeze that area and then relax. So by having the tightness and release, it gets you into that point of, you know, that aha, that, you know, relaxation, exhaustion feeling. If particularly, you know, you say didn't play a lot of video games, or you kind of want some clear help getting to sleep better. Now, the final one I'm about to share is the biggest thing, because for me, I kind of hinted that, you know, I'm startled by noises, stuff would keep me up, I'm a light sleeper. So the biggest thing to help that has been this, and I can't probably talk about it enough in terms of how much of a game changer it's been. And there's kind of a bonus tip of getting this, even if it doesn't help your sleep as much as me. But I still, now again, I'm not sponsored by these guys or anything. I paid with this with my own money, but you'll be able to leverage off the benefits it gives you. This one's called Loop, and they're basically these silicone ear plugs, which are really cool for a number of reasons. One, they look cool for one, but basically they block out 22 decibels. So they actually quieten the environment quite a lot. But what has really helped me with these, I used to kind of have or try earplugs when I was younger, like the wax ones and other ones that you see, but they stick out too much. So because I'm a stomach sleeper, like one side of my head will be like on the pillow and like my ear. So that would kind of dig into my ear and it would really hurt. Whereas the beautiful thing about these is they actually sit really, really flush. So like once you put them in, like you put them in and then you twist them like this, you'll see that like the profile doesn't come out much. So it can actually be quite conducive for not really like hurting you when you toss and turn. And by blocking out a lot of that noise, it puts you in that zone for sleep, because there'll still be noise, obviously, but I find it takes the edge off. So it almost feels like either underwater or not, that's not a good analogy, but it kind of feels like a lot of the sting and stimulation of the noise gets muted and muffled such that it kind of like goes through you, like, or it passes through you without changing anything about you, which is kind of really, really like interesting, and which is kind of why it flows into my next point about, so if these don't necessarily help you get a better sleep, and I'm kind of jealous because I looked on this website the other day and they have these, so you see at the end, there's like these silicone tips. There's obviously different sizes. There's kind of like a double tip where there's like this and then another one on top of it, which blocks out an additional 3 decibels, I believe. But then I don't know if that would stick out more and how that would work for being a stomach sleeper, but interesting proposition. But that could probably be used for the next point, or, you know, those in general, focus and concentration. So for me, I work in an environment where it's like an open bullpen or an open plan office. So we don't have our own like quiet like rooms. We're all, you know, not in a jungle, but we're all kind of in an open space. So if someone's behind me talking, I can hear what they're saying, obviously, and vice versa. By having these on, it kind of, again, helps to take a lot of that out and help you focus on what's in front of you or what you want to focus on without being as distracted. The noise kind of passes like through you without interrupting you. So it kind of primes you for that deep work, which I want to kind of talk about in another video, but I kind of want to share this because ever since I've probably used these, there probably hasn't been a night that I've gone without using them, because that's how much like benefit I feel I've gotten from them. It could be a bit of a placebo that I believe they're helping, but I think I've had enough of the feeling of getting the benefits that I feel refreshed for the next day. I feel more likely to tackle my goals. It helps me conquer the mountain more consistently, conquer my workouts. And then by, of course, leveraging all of these benefits, you're more rested and recovered for the next session, the next day, to conquer the mountain and conquer life. But first, you must conquer the sleep, right? Which is why I'm sharing these tips. Now, not all of them weren't necessarily perfect for you, or some might be better than others. But what I kind of wanted to share was an update in an older video I've done in terms of how implementing these earplugs and kind of sharing these other observations I have really helped me to get to another level of sleep. And I, again, consider myself someone who's quite, anxious, he's quite easily startled, a light sleeper. So I feel like if it's helped me, as long as someone finds benefit of this, I'm glad, because everyone deserves a good night's sleep, and sleep's so important for just so many functions of your life. So with that, conquer mountains, conquer life. Thank you.